Good evening, everyone. So, how was your day today? Winters are there. The second wave of a pandemic is coming. Uh, you already know what to do. So, it's good time to study to make your career. This is a high time. So, now we will begin. Our, we will be discussing the multiple choice questions, MCQs, what we studied from yesterday. Okay. So, we'll start now. This will be the first MCQ. To solve MCQ, now today I will share some of the tricks. Even if we don't know the answers to it, we can certainly give it a try to eliminate some of the options which are certainly not the answers, and we will try to come to the answer. Okay, so let's start solving some questions. Okay, consider the following statements about World Bank. Now this is the keyword, World Bank. India was one of the 44 original signatories to the agreements at the Bretton Woods Conference of 1944 that established International Bank IBRDS and the IMF. Yes, this is a true statement, and we need to find the correct statements. These are the keywords. So one will be the answer. Now, second statement. India was also one of the founding members of the IFC in 1956, then IDA in 1960. Yes, because we had Commonwealth uh, heritage. So yes, India later become the member of MIGA in January 1994. So yes, this is also correct. So choose the correct statement. It's one and two. It is C. It must be C. So yes, answer is C. IBRD and IMF. These were the two multilateral institutions that were established as an outcome of the Bretton Woods Conference held in United States in 1944. Yes, India was a British colony, so we actually participated in it. तो मीगा वीगा ज़्यादा याद मत रखना, ठीक है? And I already said that yes, India is one of the largest beneficiary of World Bank. Yes. Now another question. Consider the following statements about World Bank. Next statement is World Bank. Again, we have to think about World Bank. India is the largest IBRD client of the World Bank. Now we have to find the correct statements. Okay. The World Bank Group has approved 250 to 330 billion commitment plan for India for a period of 2019 to 25. So this is a vague statement. So this will be the correct answer. To the following. Yes, India is the large IBRD client because it gives loans on subsidized or less interest or okay. So this is will be the answer. See, always remember that World Bank, mostly World Bank plans are medium term plans. What are short term plans? Which are 1 year. Medium term plans are around approximately 3 years. And long terms are anything which is above 5 years. So World Bank Group is mostly interested in this category, and that's why Niti Aayog for the first time has introduced medium-term strategy, which is 3 years. 5 year plans, they are too long term, and 1 year time is too short term. So this is a golden spot for planning. That is a global best practice. So 2019 से 2022 तक है शायद मीडियम टर्म प्लान्स. Now consider another statement where consider the following statements about IMF. The keyword is IMF and choose the this is how I solve MCQ in the final also. Choose the incorrect statement. Now we have to find incorrect statement about IMF. IMF focuses on fostering global monetary cooperation. Yeah, secure financial stability. This is the most important job of IMF. True. Facilitating and promoting international trade, employment, and economic growth around the world. Yes, it is a true statement. The breakdown of the international monetary cooperation during the Great Depression. Yes, this is something I explained to you yesterday only. 1929 to 1939, the Great Economic Depression started in the United States and later spilled into the world. I also said a good movie on the Public Enemies is based on the economic depression. It's worth watching. I think इसमें वो है Jack Sparrow वाला कौन हीरो है वो है. So the Great Depression led to the development of IMF, which aimed at improving the economic growth and reducing poverty around the world. These both statements are correct. So incorrect statement is none. So answer must be D. Yes, answer is D. Now fourth question. Consider the following statements about Asian Development Bank (ADB). ADB means Japan. Japan followed by United States, highest shareholder, headquartered in Philippines, Manila. Okay, established in 1960s. Okay, so now we have to find the correct statement or statements about ADB. USA holds the largest share of ADB. No, Japan holds. ADB and India have signed a loan around $206 million to urban services in 5 Tamil Nadu cities. Now, this is something that I don't know. I don't have an idea about. But this is for sure it's not an answer. It's not a correct statement. Asian Development Bank (ADB) has prepared conceptual development plan for the Bangalore Chennai Industrial Corridor. Now, this statement also I don't know. I don't have any idea about these two statements. But first statement is wrong, so I can eliminate one, one, one. Now, this must be the answer. One is certainly wrong because shareholding of Japan, then USA, and then followed by China, then followed by India. So this is the sequence. So why I didn't have any idea about these two statements, but yes, I successfully come at the answer, and answer must be B. It is B. Now, fifth question. Consider the following statement about BRICS. Okay, so the keyword to focus is BRICS. The BRICS Leaders Summit is convened annually. True. Summits we regularly hear it. Together, BRICS accounts for about 40% of the world population. True, and 30% of the GDP. Yes, true. Making it true. Both statements are right. C. Yeah. Now, sixth question is again for the BRICS. Consider the following statement about BRICS. The main reason for the cooperation to start among the BRIC nations was the financial crisis of 2000. No doubt it was the ignition point. BRICS has managed to push for the institutional reform which led to the Asian Development Bank in 2002. Certainly it's not a thing. New Development Bank, NDB, not ADB. So answer is A. Yes, it is A. And no, institutional reform which led to no. BRICS has a bank NDB and institutional reform of 2010, right? IMF. It became more democratic, right? Now, seventh question. Consider the following statements upon New Development Bank. It is a democratic bank, one nation, one vote. During the fourth BRICS summit in Fortaleza Declaration of 2014, yes, we remember, the leaders signed the agreement establishing NDB No, this is not wrong. Correct. National Development Bank is headquartered in Moscow. No, Shanghai. Okay. So correct statement. The key we have to find correct statements. Both are not correct. So none is the answer because NDB is an outcome of Delhi Declaration and headquartered in Shanghai. AIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, it's headquartered in Beijing. And NDB is headquartered in Shanghai because it is economic capital of China. None is the answer. True. New Delhi Declaration of 2012. True. See, here they have asked signed. Okay. So the signature was definitely done in Fortaleza, but it was not fourth, it was the sixth summit. But if the question is framed in a way that India specific question is there, so the idea of NDB, National Development Bank, was conceptualized in Delhi Declaration of 2012. No doubt about it. And the agreements were signed in Fortaleza in 2014. So now they have specifically asked. So yes, they were signed, but it was sixth BRIC summit. Okay. Now question is on AIIB is a multilateral and development bank with a mission to improve socio-economic. ठीक है ये तो है ही है. ये तो this is the answer, no doubt about it. 14 of the G20 nations are. This is also true. So correct statements both. Yes. So ninth question. Which of the following is statements about BIMSTEC? Okay. And we have to find, this is how you should also attempt in the final so that you won't make silly mistake. We have to find correct statements. So BIMSTEC, let's start. BIMSTEC not only connects the Southeast Asia but also the ecologies of Great Himalayas and Bay of Bengal. True, it's a very generic statement. It mainly aims to create an enabling environment for rapid economic. ठीक है ये भी तो है. Promote collaboration matter. Okay, answer must be C. It is C. What is the declaration we have just seen? Signed. It was a six-bit declaration. Fortaleza. NDB was created. Right. So I think we have done with these questions. If you have any doubts regarding these questions that we have just discussed, you are free. Okay, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, we will start with our today's topic. I guess you all have the PDF, so that will not be an issue. So everything, everyone is okay. Shall we proceed to the food processing, or anybody have doubt? I'd be very happy to clear your doubts if any. Yes, Bhavya, you can definitely ask any doubt from previous chapters also. Even if you have outside the scope of economy, that also you everybody can ask. Don't feel shy. Please ask. So 24 participants are there today. It's a good number. Yes, current account is anything which is short term. Investments are mostly long term. So uh, transfers and remittances, that is included in current account. I is also for interest. If you have taken a loan, the current account, goods means trade. Here we are negative. Services, transfers, GST and I. Interests. Transfers are also remittances. Huh? Now in services we are positive. We export more services than we import. In transfers, India is the largest beneficiary of remittances around the world, approximately 66 billion dollar. Okay, interests. And if you know external commercial borrowing (ECB), it is counted under capital head. Capital head as money credited. Money credited. But whatever you have taken as a loan, you need to pay its principal amount as well as its interest. But the interest deduction is counted under current head, current account. And why, I don't know. I really don't have idea, but I just have mucked up this thing. And that's why our capital account seems to be very strong, because only credits, जितना पैसा है वो हम कैपिटल अकाउंट में पकड़ रहे हैं. जो भी इन्वेस्टमेंट आए हैं एज अ सॉफ्ट लोन, जो भी एक्सटर्नल कमर्शियल बोरोइंग आई है, वो हमने वो क्रेडिट बुक में डाला है कैपिटल अकाउंट के. बट उसका जो भी हम भरपाई करेंगे, व्हाट विल वी बी रीपेइंग in the interest, that will be deducted from current account. And that's why current account is means the current account will always be in deficit, or it will always be seen as stressed. Okay. Sir, is FPI more liquid, more risky compared to FDI, or less liquid? On what basis we measure liquidity? Liquidity means cash. Current account, see now again, FDI is long term. FPI, you don't have any guarantee. Within 6 hours also, and billions of dollars can ship from India to Shanghai, and from Shanghai to Tokyo, and within 24 hours they can again back come to India, because FPI is hot money. So definitely uh, FPI is more liquid, more risky as compared to FDI. Foreign portfolio investors, that's why it is also called as hot money. You can it is more liquid, that's why it shifts its base very quickly. it is obviously it's more risky as compared to FDI. FDI is relatively stable, and that's why FDI is the marker of country's economic stability. If you are getting more FPI and less FDI, that means the economic confidence of your country is very low. Your country is getting relatively more FDIs, then the business or investors sentiments are very positive with your economy or your country or your business enterprise, whatever it may be. So yes, FPI is more liquid and more risky. Okay. Anyone else want to who have any doubts, and feel free to ask any question. We are not just bounded by economy only. You can ask me anything, whatever you need, not just current affairs, but from static. Okay. Okay. Again, another question from M. Supraja. What was the purpose of intercredited agreement signed by Indian banks and financial institutes? I read it in newspaper but did not get it. Okay. Okay. So intercreditor agreement. See, if 10 creditors are there and 6 creditors are okay with a resolution plan, if I have taken a loan from that bank which has 10 creditors, okay, for example, let's say I have taken loan from 10 different banks, 10 private commercial or scheduled commercial banks, whatever it may be. Those were the 10 creditors for me, but my business has defaulted and now I am defaulting on my payments. So they all come together and they ask me for repayment of money. I say that I don't have an active business running, so I don't have money. So they say that now we will have a resolution plan where you can pay some amount of money and uh, rest we will uh, recover out by auctioning your assets, business assets. We will acquire it. Okay. So there is a technical plan. How much percentage that I should pay in money? Shall my other properties all be also confiscated or not? And if yes, then what percentage of my other properties for which I have not taken loan from this 10 gentlemen or banks, what percentage shall be confiscated and sold? What should be the etc, etc. These are very technical minute details. So if 6 are saying yes and 4 are saying no, then earlier what used to be, then the resolution plan was they the it was it used to be blocked in a dead end. So then for suppose 9 people are okay with the resolution plan and one is saying no, I don't want this plan. So this also was blocking the plan because the decision used to be by consensus. Now what an ICA, intercreditor agreement, has done, it has pushed this thing into majority vote. Now if 6 people are saying okay, then 4 don't have any role to play. Then the 4 will have to abide with the what 6 are saying. So this is how deadlocks nahi honge and timely resolution will be there. Okay. Okay. Jasmine Kaur, what exactly you didn't get? Means I don't have an idea. What is not clear to you? Next question is what is meant by overriding objective and trade-off. So sorry, I have never read it. मुझे नहीं पता तो I will read if you want and I can explain it later. So I think yes, I think Jasmine is there. Okay. Is our currency a soft currency as we have political stability but no trade demand? No, Indian currency is a mixed one. We are neither soft neither hard. We are a mixed one. Hard currency means they have high faith of in dollar, yen, renminbi, etc., etc. And soft currency means nobody has any confidence in it. But yes, India is definitely not in a very too good situation and not in a too bad situation. So we are a mix of both. We are some intermediate type of currency, and we want to remain like that. one thing also that our policymakers are, they are so sure that we want to remain a intermediate type of currency, because making our currency hard will reduce our already less exports. Whatever we are exporting, the exports will be reduced, uh, the imports will be inflated, and the transactional cost will, most of the uh, see most of our budget is allocated to the repayment of interests. We are in a huge international debts, individual countries debts, international financial institutions debts like World Bank. We have huge debts which we need to repay on a yearly basis, and we cannot default it, because that will also tarnish our country in the form of economic perspective. So uh, making our currency hard will make this transactional cost short up. Okay, because your currency is hard means all the lenders will ask to buy, to make our payments quick. For example, socho na कि, you have given someone 25,000 rupees, and he's saying that I am in need of money and I don't have money right now, so I'll pay you when once I get the money. On the first date of the month, you know that he gets his salary. Won't you ask your money on that day? Definitely you will ask. Now you have got your salary, I need my money back, because you know that now his money has become hard. Now he is very relatively stable, so you will start demanding your quickly. That we can't do because we don't have that much amount of money. So we want to remain in that way. ये बहुत एक this is not in the syllabus of the UPSC, but a UPSC student must know that our rupee is very weak in front of dollar, because we want to keep it that way. Our currency is not hard and not soft, because we want to keep it that way. uh, these are many policies where India enjoys a golden spot, a sweet spot in international economy, where we have very limited liability, and we enjoy the uh, fruits of we enjoy the fruits where we are staying or where we are standing. Okay, in the form of developing country or etc etc. So we will start now with today's topic, which is a very interesting topic. Question, uh, one question may be expected in prelims, and one question definitely in mains. Food processing industry and related industry. So this is an agricultural industry. Okay, everyone, okay. Food processing, name suggests it is a transformation of raw ingredients into food or food related other forms. Okay, ठीक है. Typically क्या होगा? Harvested from butchered animals, those those commodities who have less shelf value, like meat, poultry, and fishes, marine products or aqua products. So they have very less shelf life, so they need to be processed. Now, what is the history of food processing? I am a very passionate cook. These are very much interesting topics for me. So I know much of the history of food. Even in the final interview, they have asked me, uh, what do you cook? You are a doctor, you're a male. See, if you are interested, I will go out of the box, otherwise we can stick to our syllabus also. Okay, so history of food processing, it dates to prehistoric ages. True, this is true. The moment our communications were developed between different individuals in the evolution of mankind, when some form of non-verbal communication or phonetic communication was established, immediately after a few thousand years, there was a common dining, because hunting used to be in a group. So common dining was there, and food sharing became a regular pattern. But that food was was having limited shelf life. So out of some and some experiences, they realize that cooking of food makes it not only digestible and tasty, but it also increases its shelf value. So now later, when it is cooked in some specific on specific rocks, they didn't have any knowledge of salt, but if cooked on some rocks, specific rocks of sodium, magnesium, of course, calcium, then shelf value was increased further along with its taste. The the people who were eating such meat, they were healthy, sturdy, definitely mineral requirement was being completed, uh, so they become healthy, sturdy, and immunity was also a factor. Okay. So this was the history. Processes, there are two types of processes. One is manufacturing directly raw material to food. What will be the good example for it? Lays. Okay. And value addition, increased shelf life and value of manufactured food. What will be the example of it? Now, increase. Pickle is one good example of increased value as well as shelf life. Tropicana orange juice. Tropicana orange juice. See, these orange juices are in Scandinavian nations, or if you in United States, Canada, or most of the Europe, except for France and Italy, they have permafrost like condition where nothing grows, so they are in much more need of having the packed food, or specifically these juices. But in an semi-tropical tropical country like India, we are blessed to have such a good climate that we can have everything fresh. But in pursuance, or in show of being modern or forward, many of today's households, they consume Tropicana. See, there is nothing wrong in consuming in once in a while, but when option is available in form of fresh juices, why to go to the packaged such fruit commodities, etc., etc. We can have it fresh. And if it comes for 20 rupees, it is also like being vocal for local. It sustains our local employment, it sustains at least a one household. And it is not, it's not just boosting a local economy, but it is also about your health, and the freshness of the fruit is good. But but the branding of multinational by MNCs of their products is so huge that we easily fall for the trap. So if 20 rupees juice is made some value addition, and if it is packed in, for example, Tropicana, then same commodity becomes 100 rupees commodity. So 80 rupees was value addition. Value addition. Other than, what is another example is boiled egg. On roadside eateries, we often see, even in Delhi, if 5 rupees egg is there, then by just boiling it, it goes for 10 rupees. So this is also type of food processing where value addition was done. Ketchup in food, right? Products in food processing industry. Primary है, secondary है, ठीक है, simple है. इतना they are not going to ask you types. Now they will definitely ask why this food processing industry is significant. India is a land famous for food production. Yes, more than 50% Indian population works in agriculture and related activities. Yes. Mm. If there are good food processing in India, raw material like grains, meat can be converted into food and domestic. Food processing unit act as link between agriculture and industrialist. Now, this is the point that a UPSC aspirant shall write first. True. Food production can absorb a major share of workers. Yes, this is the point number one. This is the point number two. food processing industries not only absorbs the agri surplus, plus it also absorbs the surplus labor. Indian agriculture is very well known for its infamous disguised unemployment, where the marginal productivity remains zero. So such disguisedly unemployed people who are having very minimal skills or no skills at all, they can be absorbed in the food processing industry because it is an agro-based industry. It is good for rescuing a already distressed agricultural unit, and it also can be a medicine for a rural distress by creating alternate avenues of employment. So this is the wording that you should be reflected in your answers in your mains, and only these words get marks, because routine language, regular language, everybody is going to write. This point everybody will write, but this is the point that hardly only those who have revised a lot are going to write. That it is a strategic significance of agri food industry, that it absorbs not only agri surplus but also the surplus labor from the rural area, which is minimally skilled or least skilled. It also creates the alternate avenues of employment. So it is not just employment generator, but it is also a reliever from agri and rural distress, which are very burning issues in today's polity, in today's society, in today's current affairs everywhere. The preliminary examination on 4th October 2020 focused heavily on agriculture. There were 16, 17, 18 questions which were directly from agriculture or indirectly from agriculture, but agriculture was the focus. They were not from any newspaper, they were not from any textbook, that were from general understanding of the subject. So this is the importance. So it's an important industry, and definitely one question comes in the mains. Food processing prevents food wastage, true, and helps in attaining food security, true. According to the CIFET, Central Institute of Post Harvest, CIFET, Central Institute of Post Harvest, and something engineering hai or kuch technology hai. Now I don't remember. It's almost 2 years I have read it. It is headquartered in the Punjab University in Chandigarh. They estimate it is a I think competent authority when it comes to food wastages or alternatives. 93,000 worth 93,000 crores. 93,000 crores worth food is wasted annually in India. See, India is also home to the largest hungry population, and India is home to the largest food wastage in the world. 93,000 crores of worth of food is annually wasted. I also remember 40% is perishable fruits and vegetables, then followed by grains, oils, and meat. So CIFET, the report says that this is, so what it shows, that we are a food surplus country and we are also a hungry country. So we are not successfully diverting from surplus to deficit. That means the system is fractured. The structure of supply chain is fractured. We have a faulty public distribution system. This exposes the poor state of affairs in our PDS, according to the report by CAG, MP Lad, Member of Parliament, Local Area Development Fund. 4 years, every prelim is asking this question regarding MP Lad. Even this year, there was a question of MP Lad. This with PDS, these are the two most corrupt government schemes in the history of our country. This is a report by CAG, not by any other institute, but a reputed institute of Comptroller and Auditor General of our country. That these are the most two corrupt and inefficient schemes but still we are continuing with this thing. So this is all structure में लफड़ा है, structure में fault है, इसलिए सर फूड सरप्लस से फूड डेफिसिट में सक्सेसफुली ट्रांसफर नहीं हो पा रहा है. So this is the issue. And who can come to the rescue? Who can come to the rescue? Yes, food processing industry, by increasing the shelf life, by increasing the shelf life, we can valuable time, we can buy the time, and then proper time means proper planning and proper redistribution. Redistribution. So this is how thing works. Okay. India's position as major food producer. India ranks first in the production of milk. Yes, India is the largest. India has the largest cattle population. India has the largest production of milk, and India is also the largest consumer of milk. In that sequence. ये बाकी याद मत रखना, जिंजर, बनाना, गुआ, पपाया, मैंगो याद मत रखना, ठीक है. हाँ, this is important. India is the second largest producer of rice. First is who is the largest producer of rice? China. Who is the largest exporter of rice in the world? Just give me answer in the chat box. We are second in rice, wheat, potato, sugarcane, cashew nut, tea. Who is the largest producer of sugarcane in the world? Brazil. Cashew nut, I think it's USA. Tea, again China. Okay. What are resource advantage of India? Different soil types, different climatic condition. I think we have 10 or 18 agri climatic zones, कुछ ऐसे कुछ है zones. So we are a very diverse country when it comes to food crops, agri climatic zones, soil types, farming types, etc., etc. We have a huge diversity. So we have different products. So if some local vegetable which is perishable is grown only in the strips of Kerala or Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu, so because of its less shelf life, it cannot be traded to the distant states of UP, for example, Rajasthan or Delhi. But food processing industry can help to extend the shelf life from say 24 hours to, and during this time the business or the transporters can easily transport, tapping the alternate or expanding the market or tapping the alternate markets. That's how your local produce is went on national level, and your local farmers is financially empowered because now they have market assurance. Also, the diversity of our country is respected. See, we are only growing wheat, we are only growing rice. Once we were a country with 50 plus cereals, with more than 100 pulses. You won't remember now. You can only name, I challenge you, you cannot name more than 10 pulses. You cannot name more than 10 pulses. Once we are a country with 100 plus pulses. Now only we know tur, arhar, moong, black gram, masoor, etc. In cereals, hardly we know only wheat, rice, only these things. Few people might know bajra, jawar, natsni, ragi. What next? What about remaining 40 cereals? So we need to sustain not just food security, but also our nutritional security. Wheat and rice are only carbohydrates with very minimum minerals and vitamins. The millets of our country, the local millets, they are sturdy, adapted to the local climatic condition. They are also resilient. That means they are heat tolerant. Now global warming is hitting everything up. So I know I belong to a farmer family. Jowar is the crop with what we take. Within only 2 average rains, we harvest our jowar without any irrigation. It does not need any irrigation. Two not a heavy rainfall. It requires only two rainfalls with a very average rainfall. 2 days of average rainfall, 10 days apart. And yes, your jowar grows. That is not only nutritious and tasty and good for your health, but also it gives the very valuable fodder to my buffaloes and my cattle. What rice and wheat gives, what rice and wheat gives is the cause of pollution in Delhi and North India. What it is called, the stumps remaining out of wheat and parali parali jalate hain kisan. So usse is one of the major reason of pollution. So jawar is not only good for your health and taste and everything, but it is also climate resilient. See what beautiful, what beautiful the genius of our people, our biodiversity, our food diversity we carry, but just following a rabbit race, just running a rabbit's race, we are ignoring our local genius and we are compromising on something like wheat and rice, which requires huge amount of water, huge amount of water. You would be surprised to make 1 kilogram of rice. India utilizes 3,600 liters of water. Liters of water. Same 1 kg of rice is grown by China in 480 liters of water. So, rice is a guzzler crop. It is only source of carbohydrate, and India is becoming a diabetic capital of the world. So we need to shift from rice so that our future generations won't suffer from early diabetic age. So 1 kg of rice in India, if we consume 3600 of water. Similar quantity in China is raised in 80 liters of water. So another concept of water productivity and water efficiency is under debate. So, but China can do because they have very huge investment in research and development in their country. This is not possible in India because we are a resource scarce country. But we can definitely shift from rice to other local millets. What we lack is just branding and marketing of our local food products. If some of your friends want to be entrepreneur, so taking an inspiration from McDonald's or KFC, which they developed and which they branded and marketed the genius of their own people, their own culture of the American life, we can also brand our millets, which are far better any other fast food chain or restaurant. So let's focus on next slide. See, we have already discussed alternate avenues of employment, curbing. Am I audible? It's saying here internet is unstable, so that's why I asked. Everything fine, no? Okay, okay. Thank you. So, curbing food inflation, true, because wastage is minimized. See, 93,000 crore of wasted according to the report by CIFET from Chandigarh. It's a government institute. This can be diverted. That's how you reduce the wastage, and that's how you make it affordable, and that's how inflation is controlled. Crop diversification, yes, I already told you. Demand potential है, government subsidies है, सब है. Of food processing industries in India. This is another question that might come. They have asked time and again about petroleum or steel industries location, but now food processing, they can definitely ask. India has more than registered units, okay, 35,000. food processing factories are concentrated in the coastal states for obvious reason. Accessibility to marine food processing. India is the second largest exporter of marine products. So, other coastal states include Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Gujarat. Now, why this Punjab is in the scene? You can guess, even if it's not a coastal state. West Bengal, non-coastal states, UP and Punjab. Now, Uttar Pradesh is the one largest grower of sugar cane. So, sugar cane has jag syrup component, molasses component. Okay, UP is also the largest producer of potato. So now we in all over India we get refrigerated potato out of the top scheme: tomato, onion, potato. Operation Greens. You must be remembering. Punjab, for obvious reason, what Punjab can export, wheat does not need food processing industry, but the milk products of Punjab, abundant buffaloes are in Haryana and Punjab. So much of the milk and its related products are are processed in Punjab. Other than that, yes, they have very high quality of basmati rice, which hardly stays in India. Everything is exported out of there. Very high quality basmati rice. So fruit, vegetables, milk products, meat, poultry, yes, marine products, grain processing, consumer food, yes. Upstream, downstream. What are upstream? As the name suggests, if if I have say, let's say, what should be the better example to this thing? Potato chips. I have potato chips factory, for example. So what is will upstream is all the raw material that will be coming. One will be the potato. So it will be coming from farms. So farmer in potato, then logistics. There will be some FPOs that will be dealing with me. So they will have some trucks. So the logistics will be there. So they will be coming in some vehicles to my factory. Another component I will be requiring is salt, which will come from market, oil and spices. This will be coming from market. Everything will come to my enterprise, and here the processing will be done. So all these raw materials and related activities, these are upstream activities. From upstream, they will come to my enterprise, and what will be the downstream will be consumers. But it's not like that my factory will directly go into the retail sale, because not that is not practical. So I will supply to the 4 states: 1, 2, 3, 4. Every state will supply to their 3, 4 divisions. Every division will supply to the 3, 4 districts. Every district to the 3, 4 taluka places or tehsils. And this is how the chain is made. So all linkages here are downstream linkages. Linkages here are upstream linkages. So searching for and extracting of raw materials are upstream linkages. Okay, and downstream processing materials collected during upstream and to into a finished products. Downstream further include actual sale of product to other businesses or government or private individual, whatever it may. Now this is a good diagram. Supply chain management question is very less likely to come, but if it comes in mains, this will be a good diagram. The raw material converted into component by manufacturer, then retailer and consumer. It's very generic and general knowledge. If you observe such diagrams, you can create your own diagrams, just like मैंने पहले जैसे बनाया था पीछे ऐसे. So supply chain management is all about management of flow of goods, because the name suggests supply chain. And what is supply chain, or what? Flow of goods, and we have to manage that. Okay, that's the thing. What is the importance of supply management in food processing industry? If such question comes for 10 mark in mains examination, then I would start my answer with a very beautiful quote, that a strength of chain, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. This will be the quote that I will start my answer with. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. To break a chain, all I need to do is find the weakest link in that chain, and to hammer on that weakest link. So the whole chain will break. Then this will be a self-explanatory opening statement, and then I will write another thing, that it will help upstream downstream activities in integrated. Vertical integration will be there, horizontal integration will be there, dynamism will be there, transparency will be there, accountability will be there, consumer charter will be there, the choice for consumer will be there, diversification of my products will be there, uh, timely management will be there, uh, etc., etc. I will proactively disclose the micro components on the packaging itself. It will be according to the norms by FSSI. ये वो सब बातें लिख सकते हैं. What are the obstacles? Any obstacle start with data. We don't have sufficient data on food processing industry itself. Okay, because over 80% of such units are working in informal sector. Informal sector, local ice creams. I remember I am a very passionate I'm food lover, because I am also a passionate cook. Even when I am on my holidays, even my wife, she uh, she requests me, she asks me to cook, because that that is a unique taste. Even my mother insists me that today I will not cook because you are here, and we all want to have food from your hand. So because I am a very keen observer when it comes to food. About quantity, quality, texture, etc. And and I have traveled throughout the length and breadth of our country. Many many masters, magicians, where I found on the street eateries, the gourmets, on the streets of our country. They are the magicians. What they do with food is, I cannot explain you. The the forms of local ice cream, the flavors they create, uh, the as simple as tea. So these were the products. Many of the products I remember everything. Many non-vegetarian products also. What they have created their own dishes. They are unparalleled. But they don't have any called as marketing or branding, or they don't know how to expand their businesses. Many I believe in your own cities and districts and villages, you must have eaten that I don't know what you call, but it's a candy, sugar candy, and the red filaments, इसको बुड्ढी के बाल कहते हैं हिंदी में. महाराष्ट्र में भी से यही कहते हैं. So I try wherever I go this item, not because I love it, obviously sweet I avoid, but I have tasted it in many different formats across our country. This is a very basic, even found in rural villages. So Uh, hmm, okay, pichi mithai. Thank you. So uh, this is one thing that our in don't have data, and we have not successfully, we are not yet be successful to connect with the changing nature of food what we eat. Earlier it was in 1960s to 80s, these are my observations, huh? In 1960s to 80s or before that also, food was a household affair, and there was a taboo. Those who used to eat in private hotels, I believe in 1960s, apart from metro cities like Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, these metro cities, I think that every district must have had only one eatery or private establishment, and that too near bus stations for the travelers. No resident used to go and eat in those because it was taboo. It was socially prohibited. Then came the time of 1980s, 90s, and for the first decade of century. Going out into the restaurant and having a family dinner was like a picnic, or, or status symbol, or a status symbol. Now, again, in this decade, a thing that we have observed, what 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 used to be an earlier family affair, that whole family used to go for a dinner in in a very in a hotel, to have to enjoy the ambience of the hotel, to enjoy the different taste and quality of food other than home food. In this decade, again, the thing of online food has come up, the concept has come up. Now, food, but they want to eat at the home. So this is the nature of changing nature of the food. Change is the only constant. Change is the law of nature, uh, and even the food industry is not an exception. Food being the very basic, since millennia we are eating food. But see how in decades the nature of consumption is changing. The composition of consumption is changing. Now, once who were purely vegetarian families, they are now, their the current generation is turning vegetarian. And once we were very diehard non-vegetarians, now I see they are turning towards vegetarianism. So this is how the nature of consumption is changing from time to time. Okay. So another next is lack of good laboratories. Yes, yes. We have very poor compliance laws. That's why US and UK, under many measures of safety and hygiene, they ban our foods. Okay. Lack of skilled workforce. True. So, I don't think this is a good thing to write in UPSC examination. Lack of good transport facilities. Yes. Logistic, infrastructural, connectivity, etc. Organized retails nahi hai, supply chains, quality is another issue. I would also write that uh, we are still lagging in branding, marketing our local or national cuisines. Okay, in my humble opinion, it plus sambar plus chutney, coconut wali, can be the best breakfast anybody could have in this whole world, except for the Arctic poles. Why? Because idli is carbohydrates, but they are not just carbohydrates, they are fermented carbohydrates. So, what was the challenging aspect in carbs that has been somehow somewhat pacified? So, they are fermented carbohydrates. Sambar is all about proteins plus fibers out of the vegetables, and chutney from coconut also give you the essential fatty acids in required quantity, because you need to consume it on a small scale, and this on adequate scale. So, but we have failed to brand it. We have failed, miserably failed to brand it in many years. If we can, we be able to explain this, or yes, definitely Europeans won't like coconut in their diet, so we can basically customize it according to their own taste, keeping the essence same, keeping the essence same. We can customize it. So uh, the game is all about branding. That is the major obstacle in the growth of our food processing industry. Major, because we can create backward because it's our own country, and I don't think that anything is an issue by income supplying or collecting the raw materials. With now very good connectivity, the current government has built very beautiful expressways throughout the country. So the connectivity and logistics is not an issue now. What is the issue is, what about forward linkages? We don't have alternate markets of customer. whole europe whole west is diet conscious. Okay, and our Indian meal is all about balanced diet. We have Punjabi thali, South Indian thali, Gujarati thali, Rajasthani thali, Maharashtrian thali, Bengali thali, Odia thali. Every state, every culture has a thali, because in thali we have right amount of carbohydrates in the form of chapati and rice, right amount of protein in form of dal, right amount of fibers in form of cucum, in form of that what you call a raita, and right amount of taste spices. See, pickle also has some importance in our diet, because it is a spice. It is a highly concentrated turmeric and salt, which is very essential. uh, in those days antibiotics were not there, so the anti-inflammatory as well as some form of antibiotic properties, so pickle also form. So our thali system, in nowhere in the world there is a concept of a thali. Not also in other South Asian countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, etc. They don't have a thali there. Now they might have copied, but I don't know. Thali is all about balanced diet, right amount of carbs, proteins, fibers, proteins, minerals, vital amines, etc., etc. But this is another front. We have failed miserably to convince the European that you can have our thali with various tastes. It's not a monotonous diet. In one diet, you can taste various different flavors, and you can still have a healthy life. Healthy life. So this is about this thing. Government initiatives. First thing you need to is Sampada, Kisan Sampada Yojana. That is the major booster for food processing industry in our country. यहाँ दिया नहीं है शायद किसान संपदा योजना, मिशन ऑन फूड प्रोसेसिंग वगैरह ये मेंशन कर लीजिए, बट किसान संपदा इज द रिसेंट वन. मेगा फूड पार्क्स, यस, क्लस्टर बेस्ड अप्रोच ऑफ मेगा फूड पार्क्स, इतना ही याद रखना. स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट प्रोसेसिंग फैसिलिटीज with based approach, cluster based approach with plus state of the art facilities and mega food parks, इतना ही याद रखना. Modernization of abattoirs, yes, India is the largest exporter of meat in the world, second largest of fisheries. So definitely modernization of abattoirs is another thing. Cold chain infrastructure, actually government is working on a mission mode in this thing. Okay, so you should appreciate that thing. Instead of challenges, you should write that cold chain industry, actually they are developing on a mission mode. Now in coming 5 years you will see small, medium, large and large cold chain facilities across the country. About our both institutions, yeah, this I don't think you need to remember. Revolution, certainly not. UP इतना informal question नहीं पूछेगी. Never. FPOs. When it comes to FPOs, just remember YK Alag Committee. Alag Committee. YK Alag Committee has recommended that FPOs should be given a statutory status by amending the Companies Act of 1956. So FPOs, basically what are FPOs? Are the producer company, cooperative society, or any legal firm that for sharing of profit and benefit among the members of the, which are the farmers. Particularly, the whole farmers come together and they associate with some. They form a cooperative society. They associate with some professional because farmers hardly they know any market dynamics or they are not that much empowered or exposed to the outside world. So professional bodies they are associated with the professional bodies with sharing of profits where farmers will do hard works and they will provide the raw material and the uh, mode of sale, the destination of sales will be decided by the professional body, definitely out of discussion. So this is also a institution democratic institution. Earlier individual farmer does not have any voice. Now when they are together along with a professional body and now decisions are made through discussion after discussion or deliberation, which is the central ethos of a democracy. So FPOs are a democratic institution. That's how the harassment by the middlemen or the government agencies or the crony marketeers is stopped, whereas profit maximization is achieved, and that's how it will also be one of the tool of rural empowerment, along with the aim of the government to double the farmer income, doubling of farmer income by 2022. Which committee is for doubling of farmer income? Ashok Dalwai committee. Ashok Dalwai committee on doubling of farmer income by 2022. In that roadmap also they have said you need to empower the FPOs by legislative backing and making them under Companies Act by subsidies and by helping them. Okay, Niti Aayog is also working on the FPO thing. Yeah, backward forward I have explained. This also I have explained. Mega food parks. You just need to remember they must be mostly on the coastal states of our country, with Punjab for dairy and meat products, and Uttar Pradesh, Western Uttar Pradesh for potato. In North is also there. Okay, mega food parks. Cold chains, again tapping the coastal states. You can also tap the cold chains. So this is how we have come to uh, the completion of, after discussing the multiple choice questions, we have successfully completed the food processing industry, which forms a core component in the mains examination. Also, they can ask it in prelim examination because it is a question that will come under the agriculture part. Now they have exhausted all the avenues of asking agriculture by soil types, cropping patterns, data and number of who is the largest exporter of what and exporter of importer of what. Now food processing will be their next target. So you better prepare. Okay. Just remember, India is the largest producer of milk, also largest consumer of the milk. India is the largest home to the cattle in the world. Okay, these three are self-explanatory. India is second largest in the marine export, second largest in the rice production, second largest in the wheat production, and India is in top 5 in the other cash crops like tea, coffee, rubber, etc., etc. And India is the second largest producer of sugar in the world. First is Brazil. Only exception is कि China जहाँ first नहीं है वो sugar है, वहाँ पर Brazil first है. Sixth question आएगा. So this is how we will end. Okay, thank you very much. Good night.